The year is 1965. No seatbelt law. 3. No airbags. No touchscreens telling you where to go. Just you, the open road, and the sound of your engine. Driving back then wasn't just a way to get somewhere, it was an adventure. Every single time. You didn't start your car with a button, you slid the key into the ignition, turned it, and felt the whole vehicle rumble awake. Engines weren't quiet like today. They growled, they shook, they made you feel alive. And when you hit the gas, you didn't hear a soft hum. You heard raw power. Traffic was lighter in most places, but the roads themselves were rougher. Highways were still being built. Many were just two-lane strips cutting through open farmland or small towns. You could drive for miles without seeing another car, but you also had to watch out. Potholes, gravel patches, and sudden curves could surprise you. Gas was cheap, just around 30 cents a gallon. You didn't worry about miles per gallon. You worried about whether you could find a gas station open late. And those gas stations? They were full service. You'd pull in, and a man in uniform would walk up, clean your windshield, check your oil, and pump your gas while you stayed in the car. Sometimes he'd even call you "Sir" or "Ma'am," no matter how young you were. Cars didn't drive for you. No computers helped you stay in your lane or stop in traffic. If you braked too hard, you could lock up the wheels. If you took a curve too fast, you had to know how to control it. Drivers had to feel the road, not just look at it. And because cars weren't packed with safety features, everyone drove with a mix of confidence and caution. You didn't have dozens of distractions inside the car. No phone buzzing, no GPS screen. Maybe a radio, maybe not even that. Just the road noise, the wind, and the occasional song drifting in from an AM station. The cars themselves had style. Chrome bumpers, big grills, tail fins still hanging on from the 50s. Inside, there was metal and vinyl, not soft plastic. Steering wheels were big and thin, and power steering wasn't standard. You actually had to muscle the wheel around corners. And if your car had air conditioning, you were lucky. Most people just rolled down the windows and hoped for a breeze. On weekends, driving was entertainment. People went for Sunday drives with no destination, just to enjoy the ride. Teenagers cruised main streets, showing off their cars, honking at friends, maybe stopping at a drive-in diner. Road trips felt like events. You'd pack sandwiches, maps, and maybe a camera. You didn't worry about how fast you could get there. The trip itself was the fun. But 1965, driving wasn't perfect. Cars broke down more often. You could blow a tire on a rough road, overheat climbing a hill, or flood the engine if you pressed the gas too much when starting. People carried toolkits in their trunks because fixing your own car was normal. And in winter, if you slid off the road, you might have to walk miles for help. Still, there was something about it, something raw, real, and unforgettable. Every time you got behind the wheel, you felt connected to the car, to the road, and to the world around you. The sun is just coming up. The air smells of fresh cut grass and gasoline. You grab your car keys, heavy, solid metal, and step outside. Your car sits in the driveway, chrome shining in the morning light. Maybe it's a Chevy Impala, maybe a Ford Galaxy, maybe a Plymouth Fury. Big, long, and wide enough to fit the whole family with room to spare. You open the door, and the hinges groan a little. Vinyl seats are cool against your clothes. The dashboard is simple. Speedometer, fuel gauge, maybe a clock if you're lucky. You turn the key and the engine roars to life, shaking the steering wheel in your hands. You give it a little gas, and the exhaust gives a deep, confident note that lets the neighborhood know you're awake. The streets are quiet as you head into town. You pass the corner diner, already smelling bacon and coffee from the open windows. There's no rush. The speed limit through town is just 25, and everyone actually follows it. You wave to a friend walking his dog, and he tips his hat in return. In 1965, people notice each other. A few miles out, the road opens up. It's a two-lane highway, rolling gently over hills and past farms. There's no divider, just a yellow line separating you from oncoming traffic. You keep your hands steady on the wheel, feeling every bump through the tires. The radio crackles with a Beatles song, a little fuzzy, but you sing along anyway. Halfway to your destination, you see the service ahead sign. You pull into a gas station, a little white building with two pumps out front. A man in a crisp shirt and cap walks up with a smile. "Fill her up?" he asks. You nod, and while the pump clicks, he checks your oil and wipes your windshield with a rag. When you hand him $3 for a full tank, he thanks you like you just gave him a tip. Back on the road, you spot something ahead. A sheriff's car parked under a tree, the officer leaning on the hood with a cup of coffee. You ease off the gas. In 1965, there's no radar detector, no flashing warning from a GPS app. If you're speeding, you rely on your own eyes. As the afternoon comes, you stop at a roadside diner for lunch. The parking lot is full of shiny cars, Buicks, Dodges, Oldsmobiles, each one with its own shape and style. Inside, You order a cheeseburger and a soda for less than $1. When you leave, you notice a few other drivers leaning on their cars, talking engines and bragging about top speeds. Car culture isn't a hobby, it's part of life. Evening brings cooler air, and you roll the windows down. The smell of fresh hay mixes with exhaust fumes as you drive through the fading light. Headlights flicker on, glowing yellow, instead of the bright white beams you see today. You keep a closer watch now. Rural roads can be tricky after dark. No street lights, no reflective lane markers. Just the glow of your lights and the hum of your tires. When you finally pull back into the driveway, the engine ticks as it cools. You turn off the ignition, and the sudden quiet feels strange after hours of steady rumble. You sit for a moment, listening to the crickets outside, before heading inside. It wasn't a fast day, it wasn't a high-tech day, but it was a real day, one where driving wasn't just about the destination. It was about every moment in between. Driving in 1965 wasn't just about getting somewhere, it was about the feeling you got along the way. Every trip was personal because the car was more than a tool. It was a part of your life. You didn't just drive it, you maintained it, listened to it, understood it. You knew the sound it made when it was happy and the sound it made when it needed attention. The roads themselves added to the experience. There were no endless lines of traffic lights, no packed multi-lane freeways in every direction. Many drives took you past farmland, small towns, or stretches of empty road where you could feel the world open up around you. The smell of hot asphalt in summer, the cool rush of air through an open vent window, the glare of chrome in the sun. These little details stayed with you. People drove slower, but they noticed more. They waved to other drivers. They stopped to help if someone's hood was up on the side of the road, and they didn't spend the trip staring at a screen. A map in the glove box was your GPS, and if you got lost, you pulled over and asked a stranger for directions. That human connection is something we've mostly lost. Cars in 1965 had character. No two models looked alike. A Chevy, a Ford, a Plymouth. You could tell them apart from a block away. They had curves, edges, and bright work that caught the eye. The sound of a Vate idling at a stoplight could make you turn your head. Even smaller cars had personality. They were built to stand out, not blend in. There was also a sense of freedom. With fewer rules, fewer distractions, and less fear of the road. A driver felt in control of their own journey. You could take a long way home just because the road was prettier. You could pull over at a roadside stand and buy fruit from a farmer you'd never met. And you could watch the miles roll by without feeling like you had to be somewhere else. Of course, not everything was better. Cars weren't as safe. Accidents could be deadly. Breakdowns could leave you stranded far from help. But even with those risks, people remember the era with a kind of fondness that's hard to explain unless you've lived it. It was raw and imperfect, but maybe that's why it felt so real. Today's cars are faster, cleaner, safer, and more comfortable than anything in 1965, but for all the progress, we've lost some of the soul. Driving no longer feels like a small adventure. The roads are crowded, the cars are quiet, and the connection between driver and machine has faded behind layers of technology. Still, there's a reason people restore and collect those old cars. They're not just buying metal and rubber, they're buying back a feeling, a reminder of a time when driving was more than just travel, when it was an experience, a ritual, even a joy. And maybe, if you're lucky enough to climb into a car from 1965, turn that key, and hear the engine come to life, you'll feel it too. The vibration through the seat, the smell of gasoline, the way the steering wheel resists your hands. It will all bring you back to a world that moved slower, but somehow felt richer. Because driving back then wasn't just about where you were going, it was about being there, in that moment, on that road, with nothing between you and the world, except the wheel in your hands. And once you feel that, you might not want to let it go.